Hi, Verbling. My name is Michaela. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. And today we're going to be having some conversation to start class off, moving into some talk about phrasal verbs, and finally looking at an idiom we can use in everyday language. If you guys have any questions on this class or would like to suggest topics for new classes, friend me on Facebook. I'll put my Facebook name in the chat box for you there. You can also message me on my Verbling inbox by looking at my profile. I have open tutoring hours if you guys are interested in a private tutor. I have a few hours left this week and many hours next week. So let me know. Andre, welcome back.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
You're doing lots of English today. You're ambitious.
Yeah. Thanks.
Excellent. So how many hours do you plan to be studying on Verbling?
Today, 3 hours.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll put the notes for you in the chat box, and I will screen share so we can begin. Okay, here we are. So this was originally part 4 of a 4-part series, but you do not need to have seen the first 3 parts in order to participate. And Alex, welcome back.
Hello, thank you.
Good to have you back with us. So we're starting the class with some conversation, and then we're going to move into phrasal verbs. So to get this class going, let's talk about question number 1. Is corruption common in your country? So tell me about where you live. Alex, will you go first and tell us about corruption? Is there a lot?
Yes, I live in Spain, and the corruption is very common in my country. Yes, many politicians and many how do you say, people who has enterprises. Yes. How do you?
Businesses?
Sorry?
Businesses?
Yes, the businessman. Yes.
So there's a lot of corruption in the world of business and commerce?
Yes, and the politicians are very corrupted, very corrupted, and the businessmen are very corrupted too, and and both people are linked many times, so they work together.
That's unfortunate. And does that affect you in your day-to-day life?
Yes, I think it affects to everyone in the country.
So what's affected? The policies and laws, that kind of thing?
Yes. Well, my field is education, and yes, in my community, because my country is divided into communities. So in my community is one of the most corrupted communities in the country.
Ooh.
Yes, we have a lot of fame. Well, we the politicians have a lot of fame of corrupted people, and we have a high debt. We have a high debt of money, and it affects to every field. I think if you are in the science field, you are affected because you need money to make your researches, and you don't have this money In my field, for example, in the education, um, there are a lot of teachers that who have been fired because there are no money to pay to all the civil servants.
Difficult
So
situation for sure.
yes, yes, it's very difficult. It's very difficult.
All right. Well, thanks for telling us a little bit about your corruption, Alex. And Herman, welcome back.
Thank you, teacher.
Will you tell us a little bit about the corruption in your area? Is your country corrupt? Is it not very corrupt, and how?
I don't know if you have heard about Mexico. It's one of the most corruption country in the world. But I don't care actually. I am just living my life, and then I don't care if someone is doing a bad things. You
So
know.
in your day-to-day life, it doesn't really affect you, is that right?
Just kind of because if you want to entry or apply to a job, it's more commonly that this job is it's for another people who has some friendlies or maybe he could pay for staying in this job or something like that. Yes,
All right.
but not at all. There there are um, companies or institutes that are not so corruption, but
So it always depends on the place and the people?
just to give you example, in my university, it's a little bit corruption with some teachers or um, with directors, just like that.
Got it. All right. Thanks for sharing, Herman.
You're welcome.
And Andre, you're next. Give us the down and dirty about corruption.
In my country, I'm from Czech Republic, and in my country is quite huge topic, corruption. So usually politics don't manage our money well. So everything what state builds is usually overpriced, and so our money is not used effectively.
Misuse of money can be pretty bad.
Yeah.
Does it affect you on a day-to-day basis?
Sorry, can you please repeat it?
Does it affect you? Does the corruption affect you on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I would say because state need to borrow money, and it's a daily problem.
All right. This time we'll switch the order and start with Andre for number 2. This is the Robin Hood question. Is it okay to steal from the rich to help the poor?
Is it question on me?
Yep.
Okay, so I think that it's not okay, but of course I'm able to understand that when somebody is starving, so sometimes it's better to commit some crime than just die. So I think it's not okay, but in some special moments, is it possible?
All right. Fair answer. Thanks, Andre. Herman, will you respond to the same question? Is it okay to steal from the rich to help the poor?
Yes.
So explain that for us. What's your reasoning there?
Was not to poor people just exactly, but to good poor people. And then yes, because you are not going to give some money at that person that they could use for bad things, you know.
How can
Um,
you decide who is a good poor person and who maybe isn't?
because you could know the person before and not, know if he's honest and if the person is he'll meet I don't know.
Mhm.
hmm But it's okay for me because maybe the rich, if you still the rich, they are going to be still rich people.
Mhm.
So
True.
there's no problem. You are not going to um, s- stole of or all her money, their money. Sorry.
Mm.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Okay. So as long as it's just a little bit, it's okay, and only for the good people.
hmm Yes.
All right. Alex, what do you think about this one? Is it okay to steal from the rich and give to the poor?
Yes, it depends. It depends on and it depends on the rich person you are going to steal
So
because
only if you can get away with it, right?
yes,
If you get caught, no go.
no, I think not every rich person is bad, and not everyone who is rich has earned this money doing bad things. There are a lot of people who like his job, and as a consequence, they have got rich by the time. But these people are good, and they don't deserve to be stolen by Robin Hood. But uh, I would be agree if Robin Hood would steal to the rich persons who have earned their money doing corrupted things and immoral things. So in this case, I would be agree.
Okay, so fight fire with fire. If there's a corrupt rich person, then it's okay to steal from them.
Yes, yes. There is an idiom here in Spain that says, who steals to a thief has 100 years of uh, forgiveness.
I got it. So if you steal from a thief, then that's not a big deal. It's okay.
Yes, yes, it's a good thing.
All right. Thanks, guys. And we're on to the last question. This time I'm going to start with Herman. What's your opinion of graffiti?
For me, graffiti it's pretty okay for the people who wants to do that. But for example, here in Mexico, if you are pass to the street and you are going to see some pictures that are not healthy or are not just healthy for anyone. A gross, yes, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the government have to give some walls to the people who wants to do that. And I on internet there are a lot of graffitis paintings that I like so much and on the streets.
All right. So some good, some not so good.
Yes, it's it's good. It's an art.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thanks, Herman. Andre, what do you think of graffiti?
I'm also quite okay with graffiti when artists do it. or somebody who is like artist. I mean somebody who is handy in painting. So when it is nice picture and not just some curve. And I don't like when they paint on monuments or on personal property. I don't like this. But graffiti on itself, I think it's okay.
All right. Good response. Thanks, Andre. Alex, what do you have to say? Do you agree with your fellow students? Do you have another opinion of graffiti?
Yes, I love graffiti. I love graffiti. When I was younger, I practiced graffiti.
Ooh, rebel.
Yes, but only a short time. I did some of them, but I prefer to practice another activities. But I knew some of this world of the graffiti world, and there are many kind of people who do the graffiti, and it depends on the character of the person. There are people who only practice graffiti uh, because they consider the graffiti as a symbol of
Rebellion?
rebellion. Yes, and but they uh, some people of this kind they do graffitis. Well, graffitis. They write his nickname on private property, official monuments, official buildings, and I don't like very much this kind of graffiti. But um, there are other people who are big artists, and they do in unbelievable masterpieces. And besides of the graffiti, they do another artistic works. For example, comic, illustration, canvas. So there are a lot of there are many kinds of people in the graffiti world.
Definitely.
Yes.
All right. Any last comments or questions on any of these topics before we move on to phrasal verbs, a little more grammar oriented? All right, so we're going to get into some phrasal verbs. But before we jump into these, let's talk a little bit about phrasal verbs in general. I'd like everyone to add something that they know about phrasal verbs, starting with Andre. What do you know about phrasal verbs that will be helpful for this exercise?
I don't know. I know only that they are difficult for me. That's everything.
So what are they made up
I cannot
of?
remember them. It's so many phrasal verbs.
All right.
But really, no advice.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it goes then. Herman, any advice about phrasal verbs or any information you can give students who are just starting phrasal verbs? What would you tell them?
There are a lot of
There are a lot.
very used in English, and
Sure.
you have to vindicate the two words relational, you know.
Yeah, 2 words. So that's an important part of phrasal verbs. And I'll give you a little more information about that in a second. Alex, any more information about phrasal verbs you could share with us before we begin this exercise?
Yes, every phrasal verb has another Well, instead of using a phrasal verb, we can use another verbs that mean the same, and I mean every phrasal verb has his equivalent.
Most phrasal verbs do have another way to describe like the same action. Most of them do. So why do we use phrasal verbs if there's always a synonym for it? Why use phrasal verbs? Do you know?
Hmm. Well, I think we use phrasal verbs because they are useful to they give us more information about the context, the meaning of the information. They are like more specific, no? I don't know.
Okay, sometimes, yeah. It's situational, so sometimes it can depend. But I see what you're getting at because most phrasal verbs have like another Latin root that's equivalent. And a good example I could give you guys here would be hand out versus distribute, right? So distribute is easy for lots of students to remember, or at least students who already speak a Latin language like Spanish or Italian. That word is easier for them to remember. But it has particular context. So most of the time in English, the Latin root is a lot more formal than the phrasal verb. So if I were talking to my friend and I said distribute, it would sound a little awkward because that sounds very, very formal. That word would be more at home in a job interview or in the business world, maybe at a doctor's office, some formal kind of place. But when you're talking with friends or in a casual way to your peers, to your family, hand out is going to be something that's a lot more useful for you or sounds more natural. That was an excellent point to bring up, Alex. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, Alan. Is there any information you can give students out there about phrasal verbs? What do you know about phrasal verbs?
I don't know much, but a phrasal verb combine verb and preposition to describe something, some meaning. Yes. So it's this is more common way to express an idea in English.
Excellent. Yeah. Thanks, Alan. And Ken, can you share any other information for students out there who are just starting with phrasal verbs? What can you tell them about phrasal verbs?
Phrasal verb is difficult. It's a lot. It's a lot, and one phrasal verb has a lot of different meanings. So maybe it's almost impossible to remember all of them. Maybe we have to learn, kind of guess the meaning of the phrasal verb on the context.
Sometimes we do. Excellent. I'll share a couple more points that sometimes are good for students to know. Phrasal verbs are always made up of at least 2 words, sometimes more. One is going to be a standard verb, and the other, or the other 2, are going to be something called a particle, which is usually a preposition, but can occasionally be an adverb. And they're difficult to use because, like you guys mentioned, sometimes one phrasal verb will have 5 different definitions, or you might have a verb like get, where you can combine it with lots of prepositions. Get up, get out, get over, get in, get on, get through. So it's tough because you throw out the original definition of the verb get and you just totally create a new definition that makes the phrasal verb. And one thing we're not going to go into a lot of detail today, but is important to remember, is that some phrasal verbs are separable, meaning you can put a word between the verb and the particle, and some are not, so you can't. That will be a topic for another class, but it can be important to remember as we're going through this. So let's jump in to Group 7 of phrasal verbs. We'll read the sentences to start with, and then we're going to match those phrasal verbs with their definition. Ken, will you read the first 2 sentences for us?
Okay. No one at the meeting brought up the issue of overtime. Gladys didn't show up to the party until 10 p.m.
Thank you very much. And these next 2, Alan, will you read them?
Yes. Mark slept in until noon on Saturdays, and Alex had to speak up so his grandfather could hear him.
Excellent, thank you. Next 2, Alex, can you read those?
This movie is based on a true story. I need to work on my pronunciation.
And Andre, read the last sentence plus the directions for the exercise.
At 195 centimeters with red hair, Alan really stood out in Japan. Write the correct phrasal verb beside its definition.
Right. So the first definition is to mention something in a conversation, to introduce a topic in conversation. Anyone know which phrasal verb that describes?
First one, brought up.
Yep. So to bring up in conversation means you mention something. Perfect. How about the next one? To speak louder than usual.
Speak up.
Yes, speak up. What about to sleep longer than usual?
Sleep in.
Yeah, sleep in. Awesome. To repair something. To work to improve something.
Walk on.
Work on.
To be easily noticeable in your surroundings.
Stood out.
Yeah.
To make something by using an idea, story from somewhere else.
Based on.
Yep. And the last one, to arrive at a place or to appear somewhere.
Show up.
Excellent. Great job, guys. Now, considering those definitions, we are going to make our own sentences. And I'm going to assign you each a pair of words. Write a sentence using this pair in the chat box. Set number 1, brought up and politics, is for Andre. Set number 2, movie star and show up, is for Alex. Number 3, wish and sleep in, is for Alan. And Ken, yours is speak up and nightclub.
We have to write the sentence in the chat box?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
The first sentence is wonderful. Thanks, Ken. You need to speak up in a nightclub because of the loud music. Exactly. And Ken, if you would like to make another sentence, use based on and facts.
Okay.
We have another one ready. Everyone in the cinema was waiting for the movie star to show up. Excellent sentence, Alex.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to continue, make a sentence using this year and work on. Excellent. One more. In politics, is important to bring up new ideas. Yeah, for sure. One small correction, we would need to say it is important.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. And Andre, if you want to make another one, use foreigner and stand out.
Okay.
Next one we have ready. This movie's plot is based on the fact. I suppose you mean the facts with an S, right?
What? I made a mistake. Fact.
Just pluralize it and it makes a little more sense.
Fact. Okay. Fact.
Thanks, Ken. Next one. I wish that I can sleep in until 12 without care about the lesson. Yeah, sleeping in is certainly nice. And since this is not a true statement, I would change can to could. I wish I could sleep in until 12 without care about the lesson. And I might even change care to caring, without caring about the lesson. Oh, little things. Thanks for your sentence, Alan.
Yes, thank you.
And we have one more. This year I have to work on my work projects. My success in them are decisive for my life. I would change are to is because when you're talking there, you're saying my success is decisive, not the projects.
Then
Awesome.
it would be success in them. Only success. Without my.
No, you can say my. You can say my. No problem there. You can say my success in them is decisive for my life.
Okay.
All right. I think we got them all done. So we're going to do one more phrasal verb exercise before going on to a new activity. This time, I want you guys to brainstorm phrasal verbs that you can use with the verb come. C-O-M-E. So pair the word come with prepositions to make a phrasal verb. Starting with Ken, can you think of a couple of them for us? Come plus a preposition to make a phrasal verb?
Come across.
Come across. Great.
Come in.
Come in as what?
Sorry?
I guess come in works, but it's a little bit tricky because sometimes we have a situation where it's just a preposition used with a verb. For instance, sometimes we have the preposition up with look. Look up a word in the dictionary. But in other cases, we use those two in combination to be very literal, like look up at the sky. And in that case, it would not be considered a phrasal verb. It would be considered a verb with a preposition. But if you say look up in dictionary, the meaning changes. So come in is kind of a phrasal verb, but it's so literal that it kind of just is a verb with a preposition next to it, not necessarily a new meaning.
And what the example when, for example, you are knocking the door and I say come in? Is it phrasal verb?
Not exactly, because it's literal. I'm asking you to come from where you are to inside the house. Come in. I might also say, come up. If I'm above the stairs, if I'm on the second floor, I'd say, oh, come up. Or if I'm on the first floor, I might say, come down. And that's just basically a verb combined with a preposition, not necessarily giving that verb a new meaning.
Okay.
All right. How about Alex? Do you have any other suggestions for us? Prepositions combined with the verb come to make a phrasal verb?
Come along.
Come along, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Works pretty well. How about Alan? Any ideas?
Come up with.
Come up with. Okay, that's a good example of one where we use more than one preposition. Come up with. Can you guys think of any other phrasal verbs that can be made with come? It takes a good memory of prepositions in order to make these. And of course, some knowledge about phrasal verbs as well. But sometimes just thinking of the prepositions is important.
Come about.
Come about. Great one. Anything else you can add to this list?
Come on.
Come on. Excellent.
Come by.
Come by. Sure.
Come up.
Come up. In what sense?
Coming up the flower.
Coming up the flower?
Yeah. No.
What do you mean, like an ant?
Paul
It
Markers
crawls up the
saying
flower?
coming back like a flower. So I thought it's flowers blooms or something.
No, not that I can think of. I can't think of any way we could use come up aside from come up with. I mean, that one is different. But other than that, I can't think of any ways to use come up where it's not literal, like come down to up.
Mm-hmm.
Any other suggestions?
Come around.
Come around, yeah. Awesome.
I made a mistake. Coming out. Come out. Come out.
Yes.
Like a
Come
flower.
out.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, come out works. We have quite a list going. Any finishing touches? Okay. Then I'm going to put those in the chat box for you. And we're going to make a couple more sentences. Starting with Andre, can you make a sentence using come about? Let's define that first. Can we define come about?
I don't know what come about mean.
All right. Can anyone help us? What's the definition for the phrasal verb come about?
Happen.
Mm-hmm. Similar to happen. So, for instance, the tradition of wearing red on Tuesday came about because of a religious tradition or something like that. So kind of like caused by. It happens because of something else. All right, Andre, good luck.
Okay.
And Alex, you're next. You get come up with. Can you define that before you write your sentence?
Come up with we use this phrasal verb when a person says an idea that he has in a meeting, for example.
Yeah, like when he has invented or discovered something, you might say, come up with.
Yes.
Excellent. Write a sentence using come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Alan, yours is come across.
Yes.
Can you define it before you write your sentence? Come across.
In a way to give an impression of someone to other.
Exactly.
To the other.
Some kind of patient impression. Perfect. A sentence come across. And can it come around? Can you define that one before your sentence?
You said come on?
Come around.
Come around. Come around. A kind of coming, or how can I say, come by, similar to come by.
Yes, so we have more than one definition for this one, but one way to use it would be in a kind of like come by. So come around my place at 5 o'clock. Or we could also talk about it a little more figuratively, like Sally has been in a bad mood all day, but I think she'll come around when we have dinner. Meaning that she's going to get over something or she's going to feel better about something.
I see.
That would be another way. So you have come around. Now all of you have your assignments. If you guys have questions, let me know at any time. I'll give you a couple more minutes to finish these up. Excellent. We have one already ready. Read us your sentence, Alex.
Johnny came up with the same ideas of the day before yesterday.
Awesome. Instead of, use on the day before yesterday. Or you don't even really need a preposition. You could say the same ideas the day before yesterday.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Alan, will you read us yours?
Yes. He comes across as a honest man.
Great sentence. Just change a to an honest man.
Yes.
And that's just because even though the word is starting with an H, the first actual pronunciation syllable is a vowel. So we need to use an. Thanks, Alan.
Yes, thank you.
Try to finish up your sentences and get them in the chat box. Excellent. Ken, read us yours. Can you read us your sentence, Ken?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. He came around feeling of sadness after he chatted with his friend.
Okay. So, this is interesting. I have to make a little correction here.
Maybe.
This one does not take an object. So you could just take out feelings of sadness and the sentence would be perfect. He came around after he chatted with his friends. Because to come around, you already know that he's getting over something bad, probably a negative emotion. But also we can't use an object with this one. So if you wanted to include that information, you'd have to add it in a different way. Like he was feeling sad, but he came around after he chatted with his friend.
I see.
Excellent for trying that out.
Come around means to recover, to change the mood or something.
Yes, to improve your mood, basically.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ken. And Andre, read us yours.
My car is broken and I don't know how did it come about.
Awesome. Just one small correction, and that is because this is not a question, better to say how it came about
Okay.
instead of did come. Did come would be question format, or if you were going to say in the negative, like it didn't come.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any questions or comments before we move on? We're going to move on to an idiom. So you have a hangman scenario here. It's a game. We're going to guess letters to fill in these blanks, and you get a little hint. This is a business idiom related to part of the body. So it's a business idiom related to part of the body. First person, how about Andre? Will you guess a letter for us?
I don't know.
You don't have to guess the whole thing. Just guess any letter. A, B, C, anything you think might
letter.
be in
Okay.
there.
So A.
A, okay. We do have A. Ooh, hold on a second. Something's not matching up here. Oh, okay. So we have an A right here. And next one, let's have Alex guess a letter.
Letter E.
E, ooh, that's a good one. There's always an E somewhere.
Yes.
Oh, we need one more space here. Sorry. An E right here. Yep, just one. All right, next up is Alan. Guess one.
D.
B, good guess. We do have a B. You guys are rocking this. I'm never going to win. Ken, guess a letter.
T.
T. Nope, no T's. Ha 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 ha. So, I'm going to give you guys a little head. All right, Andre, back to you. Guess another letter.
R.
Ooh. We have a few of those. Okay. Next up, back to Alex.
Letter D.
D. Nope, no D's in this.
Oh my god.
Dun dun dun. All right, body. There we go. There's your little body. And Alan, you're up next. Guess a letter.
H.
H. Yes, we do have an H. All right. Ken, back to you.
C.
C.
C. Yeah, C. C. Ah.
Yep, one C. Thanks, Ken. Andre, back to you. Guess a letter.
S.
S. Yeah, there are always S's. One at the very end. All right, Alex, guess a letter.
I can say the word.
Sure.
The last word I think is brains.
Yes, I can't believe you guessed that, but yes. So we have our body part. The last word is brains, kind of a crazy one. Thank you very much for helping us out with that. Alan, guess a letter. Oh, actually, I'm so sorry. There is a T here. I'm bad at this game. There we go. I'll take your little body away. All right, go ahead, Alan. Guess a letter.
O. The second word is there.
Yep. So we've only got one more left. Ken, any ideas on what that first word is or a letter to guess?
Their brain. Check their brains.
Nope, not check.
No, yeah.
Crack.
Huh?
Crack. Or
Did you say check as well?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Well, it's not quite check. Anyone have another letter suggestion? Maybe that would help get us closer.
K.
K. Yes. Dang it.
Knock.
Knock?
No.
No.
Sorry.
Letter O.
Nope.
Hmm.
Although we do have another vowel.
Pick.
Yes. Dang it. All right. Pick their brains. So, if you go all the way down, we have the answer here. It says pick somebody's brains. Mike is a marketing genius. People often invite him to lunch or dinner so they can pick his brains. And this is just an expression meaning to get someone's information or knowledge, like use their expertise. Okay, so last sentence. I'd like to ask all of you to write a sentence using this phrase or a situation that you think this phrase would be appropriate. And this one we don't have to do in the chat box. We'll just say it out loud. And we'll start with Andre. Do you think you have a situation where you might be able to use this phrase?
Okay, I can try. For example, I will read this book to pick my brain.
Not exactly. It has to be somebody else's expertise.
Okay. So Michelle, please read this book to pick your brain.
Okay. Here's how we can use that same phrase to make it a better sentence. We could say, I read an interesting book and I would love to pick the author's brain about the topic or something. So in that case, it's a similar situation, but you're getting more information directly from the brain of another person. Thanks, Andre. Alex, give us another situation where you might be able to use this phrase.
Maybe I like to I like the class of this teacher because I can pick his brains or her brain.
Sure. Okay. I can pick her brain or pick his brain.
Okay.
For sure. Thanks, Alex. Alan, give us a situation where you could pick someone's brain.
Yes. My boss always want to pick my brains, but unfortunately, it is empty.
That's a pretty funny one. Thanks, Alan. And Ken, last but not least, give us a situation where we could use this phrase.
I need to pick teacher's brain to understand phrasal verbs.
Awesome. All right, guys, do you have any other comments or questions before we finish up today?
Nope.
Thanks so much for coming. I have more classes coming up next week, and I have plenty of open tutoring spots if you guys are interested. So thanks a ton, and I hope to see you all again soon.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thank you.